Hi everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at an overview of the Thorns Barbarian heading into Season 1. Please keep in mind that my Barbarian is only level 91, and I could find some improvements for certain gear slots as well as aspects. Overall, the Thorns Barbarian is a very solid build that requires less investment than most builds and can help effectively farm gear for other setups that you might want to change into once hitting level 100. Thorns is a mechanic whereby a portion of damage done to you is reflected back at the attacker, and this damage is determined by the amount of Thorn stat that you have. The Thorn stat can be found innately in the Barbarian skill tree, but also on chest pieces, pants, and necklaces. In the skills section, we'll also go over other ways to increase our Thorns. Let's begin by looking at our current gear. On the helmet, we have cooldown reduction, steel grasp ranks, max life, and intelligence. The intelligence is not ideal, but I did like this helmet for the +4 to steel grasp, which we'll get into the skill section later. We also have disobedience here. The chest piece, we have razor plates. Razor plate is good for starting out thorns, but I think at the very high ends, if you wanted to push to Nightmare Dungeon 100, you'd probably switch off for 4 damage reduction chest piece, but razor plate brings an immense amount of damage to your build. On the gloves, we have attack speed, physical damage over time, willpower, and dexterity. These gloves can definitely be replaced. We also have increased damage while a barrier is active. This does apply to thorns from my knowledge. In the pants, we have basic attacks give damage reduction for 4.5 seconds, but we also have a good roll of thorns, total armor, and then 2 damage reduction stats. We could take off the damage reduction while injured for a more generic damage reduction. On the boots, we want to try stack as many utility things as we can, and we have. We got movement speed, fortified generation, berserking duration, strength, and then while unstoppable, we gain some move speed and can move through enemies. On the first weapon, we got gain thorns while berserking. Now this is an extremely low roll. This can go very high, but we only have ours at 5,300. We also have some decent stats on the weapon, vuln damage, close, and while berserking. First one-hander, basic attacks grants attack speed. We also have damage to bleeding, close, vuln, and strength. On our other one-hander, damage to while berserking, bleeding, vuln, and close, and damage while standing still. This does apply to thorns from my knowledge. On our second two-hander, we have thorns dealt has an 80% chance to deal damage to all enemies around you. Now this doesn't need to be on your two-hander. This can be somewhere else, like on your one-hander, but I prefer the higher chance of getting that big AoE thorns damage. The same thing here, we have strength, damage while berserking, close, and vuln. On the ring, we have max life, damage to close, berserking, and vuln, with the bold chieftain's aspect to reduce the cooldown of shouts. The other ring, damage to crowd controlled, vuln, berserking, and bleeding. I would like to change off crowd controlled to max life, but I haven't been able to roll it properly yet. We also have the echoing fury one here to generate fury while while our shouts are active. Sorry. This is not too important now that we switched off a previous aspect, so this can be changed to something else more defensive. On the amulet, we have the Iron Warrior aspect. Iron Skin grants unstoppable and 30% damage reduction. This is a low roll. We could get a whole extra 9% here, but I do keep this on my amulet because I enjoy the extra damage reduction while Iron Skin is active. We also have movement speed, damage reduction from close, total armor, and counter offensive. We're missing a Thorns roll here, which could greatly affect our build, but overall it's not too much of a damage loss. For that expertise, none of them really affect thorns too much, so we're going with the two-hand expertise just for that damage to vulnerable enemies. You could go for the polearm for the damage while healthy if you have it at level 10. I believe those are the only two that actually affect thorns, so one of these two will be fine. We are currently using a polearm as our main weapon, so we're getting the 10% damage while healthy. That's why I've taken the two-handed expertise. For our skills, we have 4 out of 5 in Flay. The only reason we have 4 here is so that we can get down to our next nodes without having to take a core skill. Flay is a decent skill. It gives us a chance to apply vulnerable, as well as if we take the upgrade, we can also get some damage reduction as well as thorns. For high-end pushing, you definitely want to take Frenzy. Frenzy grants a much higher damage reduction than this Flay does. But until about Nightmare 75, you're going to be fine with Combat Flay. We don't take anything from the core section. Then down here, we start spending a lot of our points. Challenging Shout is our main way to boost up our Thorns. At base, Challenging Shout just gives us some damage reduction, which is great. But then we also gain some bonus life, 20%. As well as while it's active, we gain Thorns equal to 30% of our maximum life. As mentioned earlier, this is another way to buff up our Thorn stats. So the more maximum life we have, the more Thorns we're going to have. We also take 3 into Outburst, 3 into Tough as Nails, 1 into Iron Skin, Enhanced Iron Skin, and then Tactical Iron Skin just for the heal. It's a very great ability, grants Unstoppable with the aspect, and this in combination with Rallying Cry means you can kind of just cycle Unstoppable and not really be in a bad position. Our next ability is Rallying Cry, Enhanced, and Strategic. We're then taking 3 points in Imposing Presence. The more max life we have, the more Thorns. And then Martial Vigor, just for damage reductions from elites, which is always important. Down in this tree, we're taking Warcry with Enhanced Warcry. Now you could take Power Warcry for the 10% extra damage, but I've never found that too useful, so I've omitted both of these and instead put the points elsewhere. We got 3 into Booming Voice, 3 into Raid Leader just to keep us topped off, 3 into Swiftness. I find that moving around with Thorns is quite important. And then Aggressive Resistance for damage reduction while berserking. Our berserking uptime is pretty high, and you'll see why soon. So we pretty much always have this 9% damage reduction. Taking 3 into Pit Fighter, just for more damage and damage reduction. 1 into Hamstring, so that our bleeding affects slow enemies, so now we can benefit from crowd control. Then we're taking 5 points into Steel Grasp. The more points you put here, the lower the cooldown. I do enjoy spamming this, grouping all the enemies, so that's why I've put so many. We're taking the upgrade that makes them vulnerable, and then the upgrade that gives us berserking. Also 1 point into Thick Skin, and 3 points into Counter Offensive. For our capstone, we're taking Unconstrained, just to increase Berserk's maximum duration by 5 seconds, and its damage bonus by 25%. There is an argument to play Thorns with Walking Arsenal, because it does apply to it. But I found the most consistent way is definitely playing Unconstrained. If you play Walking Arsenal, you also have to drop some utility and damage reduction stuff off your bar. So that's why I enjoy Unconstrained. So that's a general overview of the Thorns Barbarian. You can look through our stats here. This is only a level 91. So we are missing quite a bit of stats, and our gear is not 100%, but I definitely think I'm going to be playing this build into Season 1, starting it off with a Bleed/Thorns Barbarian. While buffed up, we have about 21,000 Thorns, if I had to guess. But yeah, we're going to be uploading a separate video where we demonstrate the gameplay, and that's going to be coming soon. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing. And until next time, farewell.